So yes, it's happening. We're feeling that subtle light, daylight, that is returning to our northern hemisphere. And in 2 weeks, we will be turning our clocks ahead. And we'll enjoy a little more of that light.
Next week.
Next week?
Next Sunday.
Next Sunday.
March
Oh,
10th. We have
Sorry, everybody. In 1 week, we'll be turning our clocks ahead. Thank you. Well, so my question to all of you is, how many of you like when we turn the clocks forward, when the light returns to the northern hemisphere?
Yeah.
Everybody? Anybody not like when the light returns? Does anybody prefer it stays dark out at 4 in the afternoon?
It's harder to get up in the morning.
Harder to get up. So, and did anybody raise their hand? I wasn't looking on Zoom. How do you feel about light? Yes? All right, we got thumbs up over there. What is this yearning for sunlight? Why does the sun make us feel better, happier, more joyful? This yearning for light is not new. As far back as 375 BC, the Greek physician Hippocrates believed that the changing seasons affected our health, and that the key to this was how much available daylight there was during the different seasons. Scientists today agree and have established a direct connection between sunlight and brain chemistry, specifically serotonin. As people spend more time indoors, researchers have come to recognize how exposure to sunlight affects them, or lack of. Higher levels of serotonin correlate with better moods, feelings, satisfaction, calmness. An Australian study found it didn't matter, though, whether it was winter or summer. It was the amount of light that you were exposed to that increased your serotonin level. It wasn't the time of year. Light does not just elevate our mood and state of mind, it also helps us see with more clarity. It's no wonder that the most fundamental and universal symbol for what is deemed as divine, good, or positive is light. Every Sunday, we here at this Unitarian Universalist congregation, and every other one pretty much around the world, lights a chalice. They bring light into the room. It helps us take a moment to recognize the light within ourselves and in each other and in the world. It recognizes our intention to be a place that invites people to come for safety and protection as it was originally created. It is a reminder of our light. Radhanath Swami, I don't know if you've ever heard of him. I love this man. He is the current leader of the Bhakti order. It's a Hindu expression of Bhakti. And he shares this following quote. He says, "At times we take for granted the light of our lives. It's not until we're surrounded by darkness do we look for the light. Do we appreciate that light is there?" So if we're going to talk about light, then we also must talk about shadow or darkness, since they only have meaning in relationship with one another. We see this in sacred art from early time. You'll often see depicted the moon and the sun in sacred art in many traditions. All things on earth are a mixture of darkness and light. And when we idolize things as totally good or condemn others as completely bad, we get ourselves in trouble. We rejuvenate in the darkness. We create in the darkness. We grow roots in the darkness. We give life from our dark wombs. We close our eyes in meditation and we enter the darkness to find ourselves again. The roots of trees and plants are just as essential to their growth and existence as the sunshine on their leaves. And on the other, alternatively, we expand in the light. It offers us clarity and understanding. It stands for truth while still dispelling doubt and fear. The pursuit of light invites us to seek knowledge, to cultivate wisdom, and to strive for growth. It empowers us to live in and recognize our interconnectedness. To be fully human is to live in both shadow and light, and our senses need both. So there were times in my life where I felt a real imbalance between light and shadow. And I shared this with you some years ago, but I'm going to share it again. There's a lot of new voices and people here. So, growing up, my mother was a lovely woman. She was creative, refined, intelligent, just charming and gracious. She had a kidney disease that left her in pain pretty much most of her adult life. And this caused her much suffering. But even aside from that, she suffered from depression from childhood. Her mother died when she was 8, and she never received the psychological care to manage this trauma. And the darkness engulfed her. It was just who she was much of the time. And in turn, that same darkness engulfed us all as a family. As I became a young adult, in response to my mother's depression, I lived only in my light. But I also, in doing that, I didn't allow space for myself or my loved ones to express or experience their darkness, their grief, their challenges, their suffering. I only lived in the light, and you know, sometimes when you do that, you negate real feelings and part of your real experience. Often ministers and folks in spiritual circles, my peers, will call this spiritual bypass. That's the term. Bypassing the rough stuff, only staying in the rainbows and butterflies of spirituality. You're familiar with this language, right? My friend back there. Yes, you know this language. Somehow our invitation in being human is to find balance. To find balance between light and dark. And, you know, and look, I tried living all in the light and that didn't work. My mother didn't see a way out of her darkness. She didn't see the light or a way. She took residence in there. She lived there. And, you know, I think wherever we could find a place not to take residence in either, to recognize the gifts in both, but especially if we are suffering, to realize that we don't have to spend our whole life in it. That there are ways to move through, if we were ready to move through. I'm going to share a short reading. It's by Susie Kazam, Kassem, and it's called Part Sun and Part Moon, and I think she's amazing, and I looked her up on Amazon to maybe buy one of her books. I think they're out of print, and they're like $150 each to buy one of her books, even used. So she's an interesting woman to look up, and this piece is Part Sun, Part Moon. Everybody has a bit of the sun and a bit of the moon in them. Everybody has a bit of man, a bit of woman, and animal in them, darks and lights in them. Everyone is part of the connected cosmic system. Part earth and sea, wind and fire, some salt and dust swimming in them. We have a universe within ourselves that mimics the universe outside of us. None of us are just black or white, or never wrong or always right. No one exists without polarities. Everybody has good and bad forces in them. Everyone has good and bad forces working with them, against them, and within them. Isn't that brilliant? Welcome, darkness. That's the end of her reading. I completed it there. Welcome, darkness. Don't be afraid of it or deny it. Darkness brings relief from the blinding sun and the scorching heat and from exhausting labor. Night signals permission to rest, to search in our hearts and to remember our dreams. The dark of winter is a time for hibernations where seeds grow in the dark earth. Life is a constant ebb and flow of darkness and light, and what we want and what we don't want and what we plan for, and then what happens. We're familiar with that, right? Mm-hmm. 4 years ago this week, on March 8th, 2020, I came to UCP and their space in the old Englewood space in the Lydecker House, and I did a trial run sermon. It was my first one in person with everyone, and it was lovely. It was great to meet everyone and get a sense of if they might like me, and God bless you, and if I'd be at home with them. And it was great. And the following week, we closed our doors because COVID hit. And we did not have an in-person service for 2 years. We made plans, and then life happened. I think I'd be negligent if I didn't bring up the political upheaval of separation that has taken over the United States and much of the world these days. Yes, life is a constant ebb and flow of darkness and light, and in these challenging times, the current darkness is more than evident, and it is palpable. As Unitarian Universalists, we recognize our fundamental interconnectedness to all beings, all sentient beings on this earth. This is what we come together to do, to recognize our interconnectedness, to move away from separation and bring people, society, the world together to bridge those gaps. The return of light invites us to reflect on our place in society and also in the world around us. Just as the sun's light reaches every corner of the earth, we are called to shine our light and extend compassion and roll up our sleeves as well to work for a world of justice, equity, and love, a country and world. In this work, I think our greatest invitation is to be light workers, to ensure that our actions support the highest ideals of humanity, rather than reflecting the hatred and separation that is evident. And that's hard, but that's the big invitation, to not drink the Kool-Aid of the hatred we're fighting against. In the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. You may be familiar with a Native American fable. It's the one about the light wolf and the dark wolf. I like this one. A grandmother once gathered all her grandchildren around her to share a story. And this is what she shared. She said, "There is a battle going on within every human, including you. It's the battle of two wolves, a shadow wolf and a light wolf. The shadow wolf represents the qualities of fear, anxiety, ego, inferiority, regret, greed, self-pity, guilt, pride, arrogance, pain, anger, rage, etc. The light wolf represents love, peace, humility, kindness, serenity, generosity, trust, compassion, empathy, gratitude, joy." And the grandmother sips her tea, leans back in her chair, and waits for one of the wide-eyed kids to take the bait. And one finally says, "Grandma, which wolf wins?" And the grandmother responds, as she sips her tea, "Whichever one you choose to feed." Which wolf are you feeding today? It's said how we respond to our difficulties or our shadow is what defines us as people. It's what sets us on the trajectory of our lives. So in closing, as we prepare to go out on this beautiful day, serotonin-filled day, and enjoy the return of light and warmth to this northern hemisphere, I leave you with this thought. Let us embrace the beauty of both, finding strength in our moments of light and wisdom, finding strength in our moments of light and wisdom in our moments of darkness. And in doing so, may our hearts become more understanding and compassionate towards ourselves and also towards the life that we are fortunate to touch. Thank you, everyone, and may it be so. If you like this video, please like us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and click on the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. Thank you.